if we can get, I think, yay! Welcome to Fancy Five Fridays! Fancy Five Fridays! Fancy Five Fridays! We did no promotion this week. We did no publicity. We did no outreach this week. And it had everything to do with the fact that this has been a really freaking challenging week. My goodness. And to be honest with you, I hope that in us having these conversations, you guys see that a lot of the topics that Fancy Five discusses, these are the things that I want to learn. These are the things that I'm struggling with. And I figured that it makes sense to share the learnings, which is why I continuously have these conversations. Love to see my people pulling up. Sandy J. Cruz, what's up, girl? Gina Marie 113, congratulations on the new house. I love to see the development and the building. That's what I like to see, home ownership in our community. Nina, constant fancified attendee from its inception. Brian, good to see you as well. We've got some fancified vets in the house. So guys, I wanted to talk a bit today about Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's give it up for Mental Health Awareness Month. I hope you can see my board. I can see that there's a slight reflection, but the Mental Health Awareness month, May is devoted to mental health awareness. So we're going to talk about practices, as we often do, to ensure that we are cultivating a positive state of mind. And with that positive state of mind, driving the choices that we need to make to see the changes that we want to see. So I'm Fancified. For those of you who are not familiar, I have a vision of scaling empowerment globally. My mission is to help people harness the power of positivity and unity to create new and favorable possibilities for themselves and others. And my values are to uplift, empower, inspire, and unite. And I like to lead the conversation with setting that tone so that you all understand my motivation in having these conversations and continuously showing up in this capacity. So additionally, I wanted to call out my Next Play family. I head up partnerships for an organization called Next Play. We specialize in recruitment and tech, diversity recruitment and tech. We're having an event May 28th that I invite you all to. You can find the link in my bio. The objective of our virtual event is to build community. I think more than now, we need that community. We need that, we need to connect with other people. Isolation has been really tough. Secondly, connecting the Black and Brown community to jobs, lucrative jobs at that in tech, and, inspiration, which falls right in line with what FANCY stands for. So in the vein of inspiration, I wanted to let you guys know that I didn't have like a formal lesson plan, which is part of the reason why I didn't promote today's conversation, because as I was thinking through the week, one, I didn't feel like having the conversation. Two, I was like, I don't even know what the hell to talk about. Three, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I wanted to give you guys a forum to tell me what's going on in your world. I want you to give the Fancified community, whose values are to uplift, empower, inspire, and unite, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to talk about what's happening in your world. So as folks who are accustomed to coming to Fancified Fridays know, we always kick off the conversation with the Fancified Fridays framework. How many of you guys are familiar with the Fancified Fridays framework? Let me see in the chats. What's going on in the chats? Where my people at? Where my people at? Okay, I am Director Benini. I see the love. That's my Ghana people over there. Okay, Next Play Ghana. Good to see. ZJ, Brian, Lady Lex Forever. I am coming back to Marco Polo and giving you a shout. Chidi Mara, nice to have you. Fonz Money, what's up? Remember that concert, that St. John's concert we were wilding out at? Selena, one of the loves of my life and on Fancified's personal board of directors. So, the Fancified Fridays framework is as followed. Positive share, positive share, challenge, and then an action step you're going to take to overcome that challenge. Once again, the Fancified Fridays framework is a positive share, a challenge, and then an action step you're going to take to overcome that challenge. So I'll level with you. My positive share is that I have an incredible support structure. Next week's conversation, we're going to be talking about personal boards, a personal board of directors. And these are the folks in your life that help guide you and help you reconsider what's going on, the choices that you're making when you're not seeing the results that you want to see. We'll talk about that more in depth on next Friday, which we'll have a Zoom conversation. And we're doing it on Zoom because we want to be able to take polls. We want to be able to make it super interactive. We want to be able to see more of you guys. So we'll address that later on. But Fancy Fide's positive share is that I have a tremendous support structure, people who continuously remind me to stay on the path that I'm on of accomplishing Fancy Fide's vision of scaling empowerment globally. You need people like that to lift you up when you're down. Thankfully, I have that. My challenge is to trust that I am on the right path. It's hard sometimes, especially if you're measuring yourself against other people who may be much further along in the journey. Ultimately, your path is your own. And so recognizing that, internalizing that helps you from feeling less than, because you can't measure up to anyone else's expectations or standards but your own. And that's why I am so happy that I decided to have this conversation today in spite of not wanting to. Because I wanted to honor my vision. I wanted to honor the mission and honor the values. I serve a cause greater than myself. And so, going back to the action step to overcome my challenge, which is not allowing myself to indulge in the frustration of not being where I think I'm supposed to be, and being okay with the process, with the path. And that actually ties into, a couple of tips that I wrote out for you guys, because I want to make sure that you're able to walk away from today's conversation and really every conversation with some action steps you yourself can take. So we'll get into this in a second. What are your positive shares? I don't see any in the chat. First time catching the beginning, Tyre T80 says, well, welcome, my love. I'm glad that you were able to make it. I'm glad that you're joining us for the Fancy Five Fridays Upliftment, Empowerment, Inspiration session. For all of you out there, where we are in a conversation is the framework, the Fancy Five Fridays framework. Positive share, Nina says, is that I am going to give my mom a great birthday at home. It's a surprise, and we will pretend like we are in Paris. Nina, you are super creative. I am so happy that you've decided to bring your mom to Paris by bringing Paris to your mom. So guys, continue to say what your positive shares are. Continue to share what your challenges are. Continue to share the action steps to overcome those challenges. What's up, X? Positive share. I've been making space for my art and have been making more art than ever before. I love that. I think imagination, being an Imagineer, as I like to call it, Disney likes to call it that. I think that's where I got it from. But being an Imagineer enables you to architect and engineer the life of your dreams. Keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. I want to hear more positive shares from you all. So I'm going to get into the non-lesson plan that ended up being a bit of a lesson plan. So you guys probably guessed, for those of you who are not aware of me, I'm a motivational speaker. I am a resilience expert. That's because I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to, life hacks to overcome whatever issues life throws at me. Brian says his positive share is experiencing good mental clarity, practicing self-care, meditating, and attending recovery meetings. That's what's up. I commend you, Brian. It's very admirable to see how much agency you're exercising in your life to get the results that you want to see and be the person that you have the capacity to be, that you're destined to be. Good shit. What's up, Letitia? Happy to see you, my love. Always a pleasure to host people who are about architecting and engineering a life of their dreams, who are about uplifting themselves and their communities. Nina says that a challenge is that she's still trying to apply for unemployment. Tell us about it. It's been a disaster for a lot of people, but how you'll overcome this is leveraging unemployment Facebook groups. So for anybody who's experiencing that, that's a great resource for you, the Facebook unemployment groups, so that you can get more information around how to navigate the system, because a lot of states are backlogged. So thank you for that share, Nina. So, guys, I wanted to talk a bit about, you know, let's see. I wanted to talk a bit about a perspective. I wanted to share a perspective to help you rise to the occasion. That's very much what the Fancyfied community is all about. How do we rise above our challenges and use positivity as the catalyst in our transformation? A lot of times, challenges are seen as hindrances. Do not get me wrong. This is a tough mentality you know, to stick to. This is a mental model that is designed for you. It's counterintuitive. You kind of, when you have a challenge, it's like, shh, what should I do? How am I going to do it? How am I going to overcome it? And that can cause anxiety. That can cause uncertainty. That can cause ambiguity. So ambiguity is essentially just like uncertainty, like you just don't know what to do. And it's the source of frustration for many of us, right? I wanted to call that out because I wanted to make sure that with today's topic, you had some tips on how to not just demystify the uncertainty, not just to identify what the issue is, but how do you overcome that issue? Well, script your moves means that you call out what it is, what the issue is, what the challenge is. And then you actually write out the challenge. You write out what steps you think that you need to take to work through that challenge. And then I think it's important to have an accountability partner. This also ties into your personal board of directors, which is why we're going to move the conversation next week to a different platform. We're going to be on Zoom because there's a lot to unpack there. And I want to make sure that we have the time. It's going to be about an hour to really dive into that. I say that because accountability partners are not necessarily your friends. Accountability partners are the people in your life that you can turn to get constructive guidance, constructive feedback. Sometimes that feedback can be hard, but you need people who are going to point out your blind spots, not just kind of, join the pity party. So make sure you write these tips down. This is really key. And of course, you want to make sure that you reward yourself. You want to make sure that you're able to recognize the growth, the development, and don't beat yourself up, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dive deeper into this discussion. Let's see. Thea Lexhucci, online community has been very helpful. Her positive share, the online community has been very helpful. Yay! I'm happy to see that. Mia, welcome. I don't know if I mentioned this today. I think I say it every time we meet. This is a global community. We've got folks from South Africa. We got folks from Ghana. We've got folks from really all over the world. And it's so dope to see that my vision of scaling empowerment globally is realized through these conversations. So Gina Marie 113 says, positive share. I want to start running. The hardest thing is to start though. Girl, tell me about it. Confucius says that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So maybe some baby steps for you, Gina Marie, could be to walk. You got to sometimes walk before you run. So start walking faster, and then you'll see that you can turn that walk into a run. What's up, Quasi? So good to see my Next Play family in the house. Quasi, I was telling them that I didn't want to have today's conversation, which is why I did no promotion. I didn't even have an agenda, but I love having these conversations. I love being a pillar of empowerment in my community. And even though sometimes I don't feel like it, when you serve a cause greater than yourself, you see that it motivates you to rise to the occasion. I hope that also inspires you guys to do what you don't want to do, to be who you know you want to be. So, yeah, let's keep it going. So at Fancyfied Fridays, we often talk about mental models, right? So the Fancyfied Fridays framework, positive share, challenge, action step to overcome that challenge. That's an example of a mental model. And why we do that type of modeling is because we're proactively trying to change our outlook so that we're going from a negative state of mind to a positive state of mind. And what I wanted to call out is that by clearly defining what we want to accomplish, what we're able to do is put together a plan. And sometimes we may not know exactly what steps to take, but just writing out what it is that we want to accomplish, our minds start to conjure up thoughts around, well, how are we going to get there? You might find yourself needing some additional support, which is why a personal board of directors is so important to have. But the point I'm making is that when you have it in your head, it can be so frustrating. It can feel like analysis paralysis. And what we're trying to do is work through that. How many of y'all feel me out there? Have you ever tried to like identify, okay, I know I need to make changes in my life, but I just don't know what changes need to be made? How many of you ever felt like that? I can give you an example. I know that I have, worked through a lot of challenges in my own personal life, and for example, I was going to move to Los Angeles, guys. I was literally right about to move to LA right before the pandemic. And, it didn't seem like something that like I was going to have any issues with. It made business sense. My team is out there. I just knew that like LA was a place, if I wanted to be at the intersection of technology and entertainment, that would have been an ideal place to be. No. But the pandemic hit and I got rerouted. That plan ended up being, not a possibility. And at first I was super frustrated by it. But then I realized in, taking a step back that was probably a good thing, because I have a tremendous support structure here in the Bay where I live, and to not have access to them, to be able to see them wouldn't have been conducive to me navigating this isolation, this pandemic. And so with that, I had to be like, okay, even though I took some steps back, I was able to realize how those steps back are, they call them setbacks, can actually set you up for success. So I just wanted to call that out. And from the live, live chat, like, tell me, have you guys ever experienced any situations where like you had to take steps back and then in hindsight you realize, oh, I see why that step back led me to several steps forward? It's like a breakdown to a breakthrough. Let me hear about your breakdowns that led to breakthroughs. And while I'm waiting for those to come in, I'm going to continue on with the unscript. I said that I didn't put together any plan for today, but I really did. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about these steps in more detail. Script your moves. Any questions on what I mean by script your moves? Let me hear in the chat if there are any questions. I'm going to explain it though, because I want to make sure that you have a full grasp. Write out exactly what you want to achieve, the steps you need to take to accomplish it, and a timeline you want to accomplish it by. So that's step one, script your moves. Step two, identify an accountability partner. Your accountability partners, again, your personal board of directors. These are the folks that are going to advise you. They're going to give you feedback on your life decisions, opportunities, and how to work through challenges in more creative ways. How many of you folks out there have, a mentor or a manager or someone maybe outside of your friend circle that you talk to about how things are coming along in your life? Let's see. Kwesi, setback can be a step back to get a running start. Yes, I love that. That's such a great call out. Thank you, Kwesi. That's definitely a quotable. All right. So again, going back to the steps that we've outlined here, we want to make sure that we always, in getting feedback is a gift. I know it can be kind of hard sometimes to process, but the truth is that if you're talking to people that have a vested interest in your success, you always have to consider the source. You want to trust the advice that you're getting, which is why we're going to spend an hour next week on Zoom talking about how to build a personal board of directors, because they're going to point out your blind spots. They're going to give you input and feedback that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of yourself, which is important because if you're trying to eliminate uncertainty, if you're trying to demystify ambiguity, because that can cause such frustration, you're going to need to know what exactly are you solving for. You're going to need to know exactly what are you trying to accomplish. You're going to want to know what the end results that you want to see are. And having people to help you formulate that, help you process that, help you articulate that is really crucial. Another thing that I know I'm super guilty of, guys, Tyra T80 says, yes, like quit a job, 40 minutes from home with nothing in line. The next job came a couple of months later and was 7 minutes from home and significantly more money and less stress. I heard that. That's Fancy Five certified. That is a phenomenal example of how a setback, a seemingly or perceivably, something that's holding you back can actually be something that's designed to serve you. Like we can't predict the future, but what we can do is create it. That's a fancified quotable. So one of the things that I'm super I need to work on this, guys. It's one of my Achilles heels. I am super critical of myself, like I am the type of person who just I guess I have high standards for myself. And so when I don't feel like I'm achieving what I'm supposed to be achieving, there's a lot of negative self-talk. That's actually the reason why I came up with the Fancy Five Fridays framework, like that's actually what caused me to be, investing in these kinds of conversations, because I was like, gosh, I need a strategy to like not beat myself up. And so I wanted to just call that out. I also wanted to say that, sometimes what may look like laziness is not really laziness. It's actually exhaustion. Because if you're like in your mind, going around in circles in your mind, trying to like tell yourself or figure it out on your own, like, and you're not getting anywhere, this is why it's so crucial to bring other people into the fold, to bring other people into the loop, to help you kind of elevate. That's also too why last week, I don't know how many of you guys were on the line, but last week we were talking about being the director in the movie of your life. That was a perspective that I wanted to impress upon you, because I wanted to show you and remind you that if you're the director of your life, if you look at things from that lens, you can see that you have a lot more agency and control. So let's see. Y'all are lighting up the chat. It's good to see that people are picking up what Fancy Five is putting down. Okay. So guys, I just wanted to share that what we discussed at the Fancy Five, Friday's conversations, and just the premise of being the architect and the engineer of your life, as I like to say. I was talking about Imagineering, right? That is a great example of being the architect and the engineer of your life. Your imagination is how you're able to create a life that you want to live versus a life of circumstance. I keep wanting to emphasize this because right now, more than ever, I think a lot of us are being confronted by the established thinking. Like I'm sure you thought for a company, you were going to work for a company for however many years, and then maybe you were going to retire, and maybe that organization doesn't exist anymore. So I think a lot of us are experiencing the uncertainty and unpredictableness of life right now. And so with that, it's okay. It's okay to not know what to do. And that's why I wanted to read you a poem before we wrap up today's conversation that I wrote called Pause, Reflect, Assess, Repeat. Uncertainty often serves as the catalyst for anxiousness and fear. Albeit counterintuitive, the remedy is pause, reflect, assess, repeat. Pandemics, illness, war. How can one possibly find peace? The only solution is to turn within. Pause, reflect, assess, repeat. Inner peace is the conduit to salvation. Turning within, nurturing ourselves, positive self-talk, identifying what we have to be grateful for, no matter how seemingly inconsequential. A sunny day, the crashing of waves, the smile of a stranger, a hug from a loved one. Pause, reflect, assess, repeat. Clear your heart. Make space for the simple pleasures of life. This way, you may find more moments of bliss interwoven into the fabric of your day-to-day life. Pause, reflect, assess, repeat. And that's Fancyfied Certified. BC, what's up? I'm mad that you came 3 minutes before we're ending, but it's always good to see my Next Play family. It's great to be a part of an organization where you know that you're not just a commodity, you're part of something greater than yourself. That's the vibe that we have within the Next Play community. That's the vibe that we have within the Fancyfied community. It's great to see folks that are committed to their mental health and well-being. That's the mental modeling that I shared with you when we talk about Fancyfied Fridays framework: positive share, challenge, and action step to overcome that challenge. I mentioned that next week. I'm sorry that we didn't get to the personal board of directors in today's conversation. As I said, I have my setbacks, but that was a setback that we didn't do it this week. We're postponing it because we want to be super thoughtful about what we do and how we do it. We want to make sure that we're providing instructions that are actionable. We want to make sure that we're continuing to guide folks on the path of self-actualization. That's the only way that you can architect and engineer a life of your dreams. And I am excited to be having that conversation with you. I'm grateful for all of you that showed up today, even though we didn't promote it, even though we didn't talk about what the conversation was going to be and the topic. I'm grateful to have you. I'm grateful to be on this journey with you. And I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope you know that Fancyfied has nothing but love for you, and the Fancyfied community has nothing but love for you. Our values are to uplift, empower, inspire, and unite. I hope you take that positive energy into the weekend. I hope you continue to find ways to be the person that you want to be, to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, and may positivity be the catalyst in your own transformation. That, my friends, is Fancyfied Certified. Hope you have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you next week on Zoom. The link is going to be in my bio. One last thing for all of you guys who are interested in community and connecting with major tech companies, exploring what that industry has to offer, being inspired. May 28th, Next Play is having our first virtual event. Pull up, come through. The link is in my bio. You can register. And I look forward to building with you all. So sending lots of Fancyfied love. Have a great weekend. The convo could be helpful. This convo could be helpful mentally. Thank you for sharing the positivity. Thank you for joining Thea, Lex, Hoochie, Tyre, T80. It's good to always have you, Nina. I'm glad you're connecting with Ty. Keep it going, guys. Keep the conversations going. Keep the love going. Keep the light shining. And be the change that you want to see. Fancyfied over and out. Peace.